Portacull is an incredibly important glitch, and you're going to need to know how it works if you plan on doing almost any other glitch that I cover going forward, so today we're going to talk about it. Portacull, short for Portable Culling, does exactly what it says on the tin. It culls Link, and it's portable. Portacull itself is fairly easy to set up. You just cold fuse SDC a steering stick, then fuse that steering stick to a piece of equipment. Now all it takes is a drop swap, and bam, cull on demand. Pretty simple, right? Okay, maybe not so much, but by the end of this video, it will be. This video is going to be covering everything involved with Portacull, including any prerequisite knowledge, glitches that are needed for the setup as well as how to do them, and some particular use cases. In the interest of making rewatching this video easier, here's a list of all of the chapters and their timestamps. These chapters will also be included in the video itself, so you can easily skip around and go over sections if they're covering something that you already know. The first thing we need to talk about is culling, because I've already said it several times and there's a pretty good chance that you have absolutely no clue what I've been talking about this entire time.
Culling is essentially a system that helps optimize game performance. It causes actors within a certain contained area to partially unload if you don't stay within a certain distance of them. The areas where culling takes place are referred to as cull zones. These zones are made up of multiple different layers and will usually be arranged something like this. When Link enters these outer margins, any actors that are inside the culling area will get culled. When Link enters the neutral zone, any actors inside the culling area that are already culled will get unculled. If you FE two actors together and leave only the base item in the culling area, the target item will also be culled and unculled with the base item, regardless of where it is in the area. If Link ever goes outside the outer margins, any actors inside the culling area will be completely unloaded. Real quick, actors are essentially just objects that are placed into the game world. NPCs are actors, items are actors, furniture are actors, even the trees are actors. If it's not baked into the actual map files, it's most likely an actor and can be culled. When an actor gets culled, all of its non-essential assets, such as its visual model, are unloaded. The only things that are left behind are the important information, such as the item's ID, its position, or any variable states that may apply to it, such as a fusion or its durability. Culling is typically used on actors that are outside of Link's line of sight, but there are a few cull zones that are smaller and much more contained. These zones tend to have a much thinner neutral zone, enough so that we can reach and interact with items inside the culling area while we're in those outer margins. I'll be referring to these locations as small cull zones. Super technical name, I know. There are two locations I recommend using, but I'll show you all three that you can use, along with how the actual cull zones are laid out in these locations. The first cull zone, and one of the ones that I do recommend using, is this shed here in Terrytown. It's located just to the left of the rail that takes you over to the construction site, and the cull zone will be laid out something like this. The second cull zone, and the other one that I do recommend using, is this slab here at the Akala Citadel ruins. From the shrine, you literally just run straight and it'll be right there in the back. The cull zone for this one is laid out something like this. The last cull zone is also at the Akala Citadel and is actually the staircase that's on the opposite side of the wall from the last one. I don't recommend using this spot because the neutral zone on this side is much wider, and that makes it so your positioning needs to be much more precise to be able to actually reach your target item. And honestly, why deal with all that when there's a significantly easier spot literally 10 feet away?
Cold fuse is very similar to fuse entanglement in the sense that they both create a fuse connection to a parent item without fully fusing the two, though they do differ pretty heavily in terms of usage. The biggest difference this creates is that while fuse entanglement makes a connection by consuming the fuse slot on the parent, cold fuse makes the connection to the parent without occupying that fuse slot. This single difference means we don't need to preserve a parent item, which leads to a lot of funky stuff, Portacull included. So to actually perform cold fuse, there are two general methods, and I'm going to go over both. There's the cull zone method, which we'll be talking about first, and then there's the Mineru method, which we'll talk about after. The cull zone method relies on a glitch called fuse storage. This glitch also does what it says on the tin. It stores a fuse action and lets you execute it on demand. It can even build you an affordable custom gaming PC. Okay, maybe it can't, but our partners over at Apex Gaming PCs definitely can. It's no secret how expensive PC gaming can get, so I've partnered with Apex Gaming PCs to help try and lighten that load on you a little bit. Apex builds PCs with a specific focus on gaming. They offer a range of options from pre-builts that ship same day to fully custom builds and even customizable specialty builds, such as the Bronze for those looking for something more affordable, the Streamer for those looking for a little bit more power, or for the bigger spenders, the Streamer Plus. Now, as good as that sounds, we're all painfully aware of how pricey custom PCs can be, and thankfully, so is Apex, which is why they offer financing options on all PCs, so you don't have to worry about needing to cover the full cost all at one time. And to help sweeten the deal, they also offer a 3-year parts plus lifetime labor and support warranty. Still not enough? How about lifetime loaner PC coverage with all custom PC purchases? Need to send your rig in for repair? They'll send you a loaner so you don't have to go without a computer in the meantime. Still want more? How about a full-time dedicated system engineer? It's like having your own personal mechanic whose only job is fixing your car. Still not enough? All right, final offer. How about from now until May 31st, if you purchase an Apex Kryptonite, Streamer Plus, or Zen Plus, you'll get the Apex Extreme Package upgrade completely free. That's all this stuff, $280 worth of stuff, 100% for free.
But I'm not done yet.
If you purchase an Apex Zen, Platinum, or Carbon, you'll get a free 5070 Ti GPU upgrade. And if you purchase an Apex Extreme, you'll get a free 5080 GPU upgrade. That's $680 worth of pretty pixels completely for free. And now, because I know you still want more, you can use discount code Suishi for an extra 5% off on top of it all. So what are you waiting for? Level up your rig and don't forget to use my 5% discount Suishi when you purchase an Apex Gaming PC. Now back to the video. So to start off, head to your preferred cull zone. For the video, I'm going to be using the Akala Citadel ruins, so any and all location-specific details that I give will be in that context. Once you get there, place the item you're cold fusing at the edge of the culling area. For our purposes, we'll be using a steering stick as the target. Now walk into the outer margin to make sure the target culls. If it doesn't get culled, either your target isn't far enough into the culling area or the game's just being moody. Grab the target and drop it into the neutral zone, and then run into the outer margins and then back into the neutral zone. Now move your target back to the edge of the culling area and test it again. Your target should cull this time. If it doesn't, just repeat that process. Once you've confirmed your target will cull, walk back into the neutral zone and grab the target with Ultra Hand. Now stand in the outer margin and move the target so it's back on the edge of the culling area. While you're holding it with Ultra Hand, pull up the ability wheel and switch to Fuse. This will drop the item into the culling area but prevent it from getting culled. The next step is to actually store the fuse. There are a few ways to do this, but I'm only talking about 2 of them here: the memory method and the no memory method. For the no memory method, you need to do the following. Press B to cancel fuse, L to bring fuse back up, then ZL or Y to fuse the target. B and L need to be pressed at nearly the exact same time, with L being only a couple frames later, then ZL or Y after a brief pause. Now press minus to open the journal and watch one memory. I'll level with you, this is the harder of the 2 methods to learn because my best advice is to just practice the timing until you get a feel for it, since that's the way I learned it. So here's the clip at full speed with the inputs, so that way you'll have an unedited reference to use for that timing. There are some tells you can watch for to see if you've done it right, but we'll go over those during the memory method. Now, if this sounds like a cop-out of an explanation, that's because it is, and it's the entire reason I'm showing 2 methods. Now for that second method, just like before, position Link at the edge of the outer margins, then push your stick up against the wall and switch to fuse. Next, you need to... Wait a minute, what is it?
Select fuse.
Where is that coming from?
At this point, the object should be the target of your fuse. You will then press minus and watch one memory. You can skip this memory, just don't exit the menu. Now this is the hardest part of the glitch, so just wait right here while I explain what happens next. We need to press B to close the menu, and very shortly after the menu closes, we need to press ZL to attempt to fuse to our shield. The timing window to be successful is pretty small, but there's no need to get discouraged if you don't get it on the first try. I don't get it on the first try like half the time, and we are pretty lucky that we only need to be successful one time. Before we make an attempt, there are some things to look out for to let us know if we were most likely successful. I say most likely because even if you see these things, we won't know if we were successful until we complete the next steps. Who is that? Normally, when playing the game, if you press ZL, the camera will center. But when you fuse an object to a shield by pressing ZL, the camera will not center. So after you close the menu and press ZL, if you see Fuse still active, you were probably too fast, and if you see the camera center, you were probably too slow. If you see Fuse still active and the camera center, you were a frame too fast. But if the camera does not center and Fuse is not active, you can move on to the next steps. Here is a little rhythm game to help you increase your chance of success.
With fuse storage done, you now need to press plus and navigate to the tab for the equipment you fused to during fuse storage. Drop this item, then equip a different item of the same type, unequip that item, and close the menu. If you've done everything right, the steering stick will jump to your location and the item you dropped will be on the ground. The steering stick will now be cold fused to the item on the ground. The equipment that an item is cold fused or entangled to, in this case my Hylian shield, is typically referred to as either the base item or parent. The item that's getting cold fused or entangled to the base, in our case the steering stick, is typically referred to as either the target item or child. Be aware that the parent-child connection is only maintained so long as the base item stays loaded. If the base ever enters Link's inventory without remaining equipped, the connection will be broken along with any effects it may have been able to produce. So now that our steering stick is cold fused, we need to SDC it. SDC stands for Shield Desync Clip, and like the others, also says what it does on the tin. It uses a shield to create a desync, allowing you to clip with a steering stick. What it doesn't say on the tin is that SDCing a steering stick connects it to Link, leading to some interesting effects. If you're familiar with stick culling, it's the same thing that's happening between the like and steering stick in that process. Cold Fuse SDC itself is impressively easy and only takes a moment to do. With your base item equipped, mount the target steering stick. Open your base item's quick menu, swap to a different piece of equipment, then immediately start mashing B. If you fall through the ground after this step, pause immediately. I will come back to you in a moment. When you close the menu, one of 4 things can happen. If Link is still standing on the ground, hold L to try and bring up the ability wheel. If the ability wheel does not come up, you've done everything correctly. Go grab a victory juice box and just hang tight for a moment. If your ability wheel does come up, it means the SDC didn't work properly. Head back to the timestamp on screen and try again from there. For those of you who fell completely through the ground and are waiting patiently for me to help, either the game ate your B input or you just got unlucky with your mash speed and you've clipped. Now, don't panic because we can save this, but I highly recommend listening to these instructions first rather than trying to follow along in real time. First things first, we need to see if Link is still mounted on that stick. If you can't see him clearly through the menu, very quickly close and reopen the inventory to get a quick look at Link. If he still looks like he's on a steering stick, it means he's mounted and will continue clipping. If he's in free fall, it means he's not mounted and will not continue clipping. If Link is still mounted, you can unpause, then just wait for him to fall down to the water, and then you can press B to dismount and land in that water. If Link is not mounted, you'll need to manually navigate yourself to the water. Make sure you avoid touching any of the walls while out of bounds, or it may mess things up. Once you reach the water, just swim around until you're out of stamina, and when you void out, Link will be respawned back above ground. Your SD seed stick will still be there, and if you try holding L, your ability wheel won't come up. I know that may have been a bit long-winded, but once you're in the state where you can't open your ability wheel, simply mount anything, such as Mineru, a horse, or another steering stick, and that will unlock your ability wheel, and then you're done with SDC. The final and easiest of the steps is actually making the Portacull equipment. All you do is fuse the SD seed stick to a piece of equipment. That's it. That equipment is now a Portacull equipment. Drop swap it and you'll briefly cull when you close the menu. Now that we've covered Portacull using cull zones, we can talk about how to set it up anywhere using the Mineru method. In order to set up Portacull with Mineru, you'll need to know two other glitches, those being Mineru Fuse Entanglement and Cold Fuse using Mineru. If you haven't picked up on the theme yet, Mineru FE does exactly what it says on the tin. It fuse entangles an item to Mineru. Wild stuff. The process for this is pretty simple. Start by summoning Mineru, making a save, then mounting her. For this to work, your target item needs to be equipped. In our case, we want to entangle a shield, so go ahead and equip one and close the menu. Now drop the equipped shield, pull up Fuse, and highlight it. Now you need to press Fuse and plus at the same time. When the menu comes up, press minus to switch to the journal and watch two memories. When they're done, close the menu and the shield should entangle to Mineru. If nothing happens, just try it again with the same shield. If the shield fully fuses to Mineru, you'll need to re-equip a new shield, drop it, and try again. You can also reload that save first if you want to get the fused shield back. And that's Mineru FE. I'm not even going to say it this time. You should get the idea by now. Now that our shield is entangled to Mineru, anytime she recalls to us as an orb, the entangled shield will get culled until she respawns. If you fuse something to this shield as it gets culled, that item will get cold fused to it. Be aware that if you despawn Mineru, any items that are entangled to her will get deleted. So the first thing we need to do is find somewhere we can force Mineru to recall. A few good options for this are two wings stacked on top of each other, two walls glued at a 90-degree angle, or nearly any straight wall given it's long enough. Once you have a spot, take out a steering stick, get into place, and highlight it with Fuse. When Fuse is active, Mineru will try and stay out of your line of sight, so you can sort of use this to force her into a wall until she recalls to you. When she does, you need to press ZL to fuse just as her orb makes contact with Link's body. When you do this, one of three things are going to happen. Either the stick will pop behind Link without playing the fuse sound or showing a stick on the shield icon, which means you did it right and the stick has been cold fused to the shield. The stick will go nowhere, which means your fuse was too late and you just need to get Mineru to reappear and try again. Or the stick will fully fuse to the shield, which means your fuse was too early. Break the stick off the shield, re-entangle it to Mineru, and try again. The timing for this will probably be a pain, but if you're familiar with FE, it's the exact same timing as that. Once you've cold fused the steering stick to your shield, go ahead and SDC the stick. Then you can mount Mineru to unlock your ability wheel and fuse the SD seed stick to a piece of equipment to make the Portacull. And that's everything you need to know about setting up Portable Culling. The last thing I want to talk about is a specific use case for this glitch. This isn't going to apply to everyone, but for those of you who are familiar with stick culling using like-likes, this glitch completely replaces the need for it. Any other glitch I've covered that uses like stick culling can replace it with Portacull to nearly the same effect. I've taught this to a few people already that were trying to do older glitches, so I figured I should also include it here. But that's all for this one. Thank you to this month's channel members, and as always, thank you for watching. If this video helped you out, help me out by giving it a like. If it didn't help you out, then let me know why in the comments. Links and socials are down in the description as always. Check them out if you want to. But that's all for today, and I'll see you in the next one.